Okay, good evening, everybody. There's plenty of energy in the room, and if my email box and my social media and my voicemail is any indication, and the numbers that are streaming and the numbers that are here, I guess there's some anticipation about this evening. So I think we have a choice about what the energy in the room is. The energy, I mean, there's a lot of nervous energy. I'm going to frame this conversation in a second. There's a lot of nervous energy, and I think we have a choice whether the energy, is channeled in sort of toxic ways, which is a specialty right now in Jewish life and in America, or it can be channeled in holy ways, and the energy can be holy. And that's really our choice, and it's every individual's choice. So I don't know, boo, hiss, whatever, but that's a real choice about what to do with what it is we're feeling. There's a joke that I heard a long time ago that when Adam and Eve were leaving the Garden of Eden, Adam turned to Eve and said, "Honey, we're living in a moment of transition." So I have a feeling that we have a sense that we're living in one of those moments, and here's how I want to frame tonight. You're probably not here unless you have a serious sense that the American Jewish body politic, American Jewish community is pretty fractured. There has been what some people call a collapse of the mainstream consensus. Some people call it a collapse of the Zionist consensus that has shaped American Jewish life for the last 60 years. And it's a collapse that was in the making, but it surely was accelerated by October 7th and the tragedy of October 7th and the aftermath. And the pillars that once provided the stability for the community, every single one of them right now is being contested. I'll just read them through so you get a feel. The role of Israel and Zionism, obviously, the memory and meaning of the Holocaust, Jewish American exceptionalism, our sense of boundaries and belonging, the definition, the experience of anti-Semitism, the place and use of Jewish power and extreme Jewish wealth. These are all now sites of conflict, of rupture, and there are people that are writing about impending schism. So the past 2.5 years, right, have for many of us been very, very challenging. And they've been a marathon of grief, of sleeplessness, of moral vertigo. I think many of us are exhausted. We're worried about our children, the next generation. We're heartbroken for our families and friends in Israel. We're horrified by the level of death of innocent Palestinians. Whatever we feel about the justification or not, the vast destruction of Gaza. We're scared about anti-Semitism, the real anti-Semitism, and we're scared about the weaponization of anti-Semitism and how it's undermining democracy. And some of us are even unsure about the credibility of Judaism as a wisdom and way. The historian Yuval Harari, I don't know if you heard him, he said recently that he considered this period analogous to, its significance to Jewish history is analogous to the Churban, the destruction of the Second Temple. Now, he doesn't mean that Jews were killed at the same level and that every institution was destroyed and that the temple was destroyed or Israel was destroyed. He's making a claim that the paradigms around which we actually create, right, a Judaism, a Jewish community, a Jewish politics, right, that the paradigm itself is broken. And when a paradigm breaks, there is a Churban. Now, history will decide whether Harari is exaggerating or not, but we shouldn't be surprised then that we have an event like tonight, a panel, that suggests the Jewish tent is at a crossroads. I want to go a little further than that, because if we're really honest, first of all, there was never a Jewish tent the way we think, but let's imagine there was. The Jewish tent has been shredded. And we need to own that. At a moment in which it feels like many tents in America have been shredded. So of course, and now here I want to surface what all of us are feeling. There's a too muchness to what we're feeling at the moment. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of suspicion, there's a lot of rancor and anger and rage, there's guilt and shame, and there's sadness, and there's loss. I mean, if I would have put those in question, everybody could have answered, everybody would have raised their hands for every single one. Maybe not guilt and shame, but then you'd feel guilty and shameful about not having raised your hand. And collectively, there's a lot of pain. There's Jewish pain, there's Israeli pain, there's Palestinian pain, there's American pain. It's impossible not to feel unnerved and destabilized and threatened by some part of the fractured body politic. There's some part of the politic that we are threatened by. So the big tent is over for the foreseeable future. We're not getting a big tent no more than we're getting the temple back. So the challenge is how to find a way to move forward with as much self-reflection and moral imagination and humility as Jews have used to get through churbans, to get through moments of destruction of a paradigm. And the only way to do that is create spaces of vulnerability, because only in spaces of vulnerability can new forms of collective intelligence emerge that are necessary, that can meet the challenge of the day. That's what I am hoping this panel is going to be about, that we can create a space. This is not a debate. I cannot tell you how many people I have to say this is not a debate. The range of the group of people is intentionally chosen. There is no one on the far right here. Oh my God, Gil Troy wanted to be here. I don't even know who that is. I mean, if Kahani was alive, he'd want to be here tonight. That's not what we have. We have 5 people, 4, thought-out positions who lead significant constituencies in the American Jewish politic and beyond, and everyone here shares a love for Judaism and a commitment to the safety of the Jewish people, and each is committed to the pursuit of justice and equality and dignity and peace for Jews and Palestinians as a religious imperative. And that is a group under crisis. That's the group under crisis now. And each has a distinct perspective. Last comment. BJ, we're here in BJ in the community. I'm not a member of BJ, but I'm an honorary member of BJ because I love the rabbis and I'm here plenty and I've spoken plenty. BJ is, the community is 250 years old, right? 200 years old. 200 years old. So I want you to take a moment and feel what the soul and souls of the community that hover about for 200 years have navigated. 200 years. They've navigated a civil war. They navigated all forms of poverty. They navigated immigration. They navigated world wars. They navigated depressions. They navigated Shoah. They navigated the establishment of the State of Israel. They navigated intense achievement. They navigated a roof falling down. They navigated the rebuilding. They navigated every type of life cycle and every type of emotion hovers in this room. And the community is here, 200, and we have been invited in by this community. So what I'd like us to do is to try to tap in to all of the different feelings. There's not a feeling, there's not a human feeling that was not experienced in the 250 years by all the souls that were part of the B'nai Jeshurun community. And I want to tap into that so that just maybe we can make it safe enough up here that they'll go off script a little bit. I'm going to try. You know, the higher you up as a leader, the more articulate you are, the more the script is so clear. But they can't go off script if we don't create the vulnerable space. And you know what's else important? If you're not vulnerable, all that'll happen here is you'll be affirmed in what you believe, right? You'll be angry about what you don't believe, which is really a waste of time. It's better to watch Stranger Things on Netflix. Okay? So I guess my hope is everybody leaves here, including me, and walk out and say, you know, at least for one thing, you know, I just never thought of it that way. Just one thing. Okay? And I guess we should start with the bracha, right? Baruch atah Adonai chonein hadat. Praise are you, God, who bestows wisdom upon us, because God knows we need a lot of wisdom. Okay, so I want each of you to take 3 minutes or so. You know, we have about 55 minutes. We have 4 people, and I'm actually one of the people, so we have 5 people. We have take 3 minutes or so, and I want you to offer your basic view. Sort of, if we were doing business speak, your elevator pitch, which you've given 1,000 times. You've given it to donors, and you've given it on TV, all of you. You've given it to newspapers, but not everybody here sort of has heard that. This sort of pitch, but I want you to frame it with this, and whoever goes first here, it's not fair, I know. But I want you to frame it this way. What's the anxiety? What's the problem? What's the fear? What's the nightmare that you are primarily responding to in your view? Because as leaders, as organizers, we design and evolve our views in order to mitigate some central anxiety or address some problem. Our views don't pop up into our heads. They're responses to something. We can go to Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, everybody in this room, and can get your views, and I mean this respectfully because I did this, almost better than you can give them. That's where we are. But you know what it can't do, Claude? And I asked Claude, you know what Claude can't do? Claude can't do. So Elliot, give me your take, but do a meta-take on your take while you're giving your take. What is it? What's sort of the nightmare to which your take is responding, or the unbearable future that your take is trying to prevent? And we'll go right up here. And I know it's not fair, you're going first.